These are Tim Emmett's shoes. These are Tim Emmett's hands. This is what Tim did this morning when he woke up. This is Tim Emmett. Tim requested that Sir David Attenborough narrate this film, but he got me, Julia Bradbury, instead. Tim taught me to rock climb from scratch for a BBC series.
I'm going to take on 3 of Britain's toughest rock climbs. I've never climbed before.
Timbo did a good job. Tim Emmett once said,
"But to finish first, you have to finish."
He's been called a great head pointer, a seeker of all things rad, a dude, an adrenaline hunter, a strong bastard, manic and eccentric, a base scoundrel, a whirling vortex of positive energy and motivation, a renaissance man of vertical sports. Tim's sports include long jump, high jump, tennis, rugby, football, squash, cricket, running, rock climbing, ice climbing, deep water soloing, bouldering, free soloing, skiing, snowboarding, skeleton, mountain biking, surfing, scuba diving, paddleboarding, free diving, kickboxing, base jumping, alpinism, para-alpinism, wingsuit flying, skydiving, kiteboarding, and speed climbing. What doesn't this guy do? In 2013, Tim retired from base jumping, an almost unprecedented decision.
I wanted to quit it before it quit me.
Tim lived a prolific and lucrative career, jumping off all kinds of stuff with only adrenaline in his veins and a parachute on his back. He pioneered deep water soloing and para-alpinism, climbing big walls and then hucking off the top. For years, he had an Audi sponsorship with all the cars and perks that entails. He was on the BBC loads, including the programme Top Gear.
You're on. £5. Best of luck, chaps. Get cracking. And off you go. There's no rush.
And here he is in a Range Rover advert. Over the years, Tim has had some great hairstyles, as well as some less great ones. This is one of my favourites. In 2007, he was nominated for a Piolet d'Or and climbing's Golden Piton for his ascent of the southeast pillar of Kedar Dome in India's Gangotri region with Ian Parnell.
I think that was the most demanding piece of climbing I'd ever done without falling. It was a bit like climbing Zuccotti in Wales with a backpack on and a plastic bag on my head.
And in 2010, Tim and Will Gadd were awarded climbing's Golden Piton Award for their groundbreaking ascent of Spray-On WI-10 at Helm Ken Falls.
The Golden Piton, I mean, I don't even know what that is.
3 times he stood on the World Cup podium for speed ice climbing. Some things have changed over the years, but Tim is still really into Euro techno. 20 years from now, Tim thinks he'll be known for
doing hard ice climbs at Helm Ken Falls and also deep water solos all over the world. But I think inspiring people to really go for it.
Let's have a look at Tim's life in more detail. He was born on the 27th of February 1974 in Slough, England, sometimes called Slough. Tim regretfully accepts that he's from Slough and thinks
some people might call it a dump. Ginger Spice, Jerry Halliwell, she's from Slough. Okay, Slough's actually better now.
At around the age of 8, everything really took off for little Tim. He discovered sports, the high jump, the long jump. At age 9, he won nationals for the long jump at 3 metres and 95 centimetres, a 36-year record that was just broken in 2017. He was quickly becoming an all-round sportsman. This is Tim Emmett's guidebook collection.
I got that one, those ones, that one. There you go.
Tim discovered climbing at the age of 15 when he went on a school trip to an area called Chudley in Devon. The climbing seed was sown. He did a bunch of sketchy and scary things as he cut his teeth as a new climber. What's happening here? Why is he doing that? This seems dangerous. How is this guy still alive? Through high school, Tim spent his time outside learning how to climb, placing trad gear, slowly moving up the grade ladder.
Climbing didn't come easy. I wasn't very good at first. It took a lot of time and a lot of work.
Although he enjoyed a few pints here and there, Tim's priority was climbing. Throughout his time at uni, Tim climbed a new E-grade every year and discovered winter and ice climbing in due time. With a newfound momentum, he climbed two of England's hardest and boldest rock routes, the second ascent of Nightmare and the fourth ascent of Mashuga, among the hardest climbs in England at the time. He also free soloed the hardest ice route in the UK, Devil's Appendix. Tim had developed a penchant for bold climbing. He was good at handling fear, and he picked up his first sponsors. DMM Wales and Mountain Hardwear started paying Tim to pursue his bold climbing dreams.
That was a total game changer.
Tim has a huge collection of fancy jackets.
High altitude Everest, this is for rock climbing, this is for belaying, this is for running, that's for ice climbing. This is the champion, this is the one that won all the awards.
In 1999, Tim got a big break and went to Yosemite with Alison Osius and the BBC to make a documentary. It went exactly as you might imagine.
Separate Reality 3, Tim 0. Separate Reality has won.
There were no holds.
For Tim, this was the golden era of sponsorship. As often as possible, he'd find a photographer, pick a hard, bold line, and go send it for the camera. Around 2001, things really started heating up for Tim. He started competing in the Ice Climbing World Cup and was dabbling with deep water soloing in England. Tim and his crew had been experimenting with climbing over water since the mid-90s.
No ropes, no hooks, no safety harness.
You're at one with a rock, really.
Simultaneously, the godfather of Seco Block, Miguel, was discovering deep water soloing for himself in Mallorca, Spain. Miguel sent Tim an email with an image of a cliff in Mallorca, and the next day Tim and his mate Clem Loscott had their tickets booked.
That was like a holy moment.
On their first trip to the island, Tim and Clem developed 26 new routes on the massive Diablo Cliff. With the film Dosage 2, the duo became the resident experts on the subject. After a subsequent trip to Vietnam for Dosage 3, where Tim helped develop 100 first ascents, he was solidified as a true pioneer of deep water soloing. Inspired by the Seco Block films, Chris Sharma soon took his first trip to Mallorca in 2003. We all know what happens next.
Welcome to Mallorca.
In 2005, influenced by deep water soloing and the feeling of flying, Tim decides to push himself into the world of free falling. With the wind literally in his hair, Tim starts jumping off things, taking up skydiving, and eventually doing his first base jump off a bridge in Belgium in 2005.
3, 2, 1, go!
My resting heart rate before I did that jump was 178 beats per minute. It was intense.
But the next year, Tim lost himself in the world of base. Tim and his mates did a bunch of illegal stuff as renegade base jumpers, throwing themselves off bridges, buildings, antennae, and mountains.
We did some really sketchy things. The base jumping crew are some wild snakes.
In 2007, Tim hits a new high, the best year of his life at that point.
And take my base rig with me to the top, which is going to put me about 140 metres above the beach, which is just nice. And then hopefully I'm going to jump off, land on the beach over there, go and get a beer. So there you go, that's what we're going to do.
On a jump over Tonsai Beach in Thailand, Tim literally jumps into the arms of his future wife, Katie, who happened to be hanging out on the beach below. Tim falls in love instantly. This is Tim's favourite picture from that trip. In 2008, he started wingsuit flying, a new sport that essentially allows the free-falling Tim to fly like a bird.
Base jumping with a wingsuit is one of the most amazing experiences humans can have.
He's nominated for the Piolet d'Or and climbing's Golden Piton Award with his incredible high-altitude first ascent of Kedar Dome in India at 20,000 feet.
I'm fucked.
Only the second alpine climb of his life. At this point, Tim's become a regular on British television with a guest appearance on Top Gear. He does some BBC gigs and snags an Audi sponsorship to boot. Tim's collected a lot of sponsorships. Mountain Hardwear, La Sportiva, HB Wales, DMM, Audi, Boreal, Salomon, Petzl, Adidas Eyewear, Alp Base, Black Diamond, Jazz Apples, Scarpa, Edelweiss, and GoPro. Jazz Apples, that's a weird one. Tim speaks the language of adrenaline, saying things like,
Savage.
Really fierce.
Killer line. These things are
Tim
mega.
soon marries his sweetheart and takes up a new form of adventure, coining the term para-alpinism, a combination of multi-pitch climbing on huge faces, then base jumping off the summit. This is the ultimate combination of climbing and base jumping that Tim was looking for. Hey, look at that, jazz apples. In the winter of 2010, Tim discovers his home for the next 10 winters. He and his ice climbing mentor, Will Gadd, discover and develop the incredible Spray Ice Cave at Helmkin Falls in Canada. Tim and Will bolt and climb Spray on WI-10, winning a Golden Piton for the achievement.
Golden Piton, what was that for anyway?
During the following years, Tim teams up with Will and then Clem Premel to continue establishing groundbreaking routes in the cave, Wolverine, Interstellar Spice, and Clash of the Titans. With each line, they set a new standard for the world's hardest ice route. Around this time, Tim and Katie discover they have a bun in the oven. Tim Jr. is on the way, but that does not slow things down. Tim still has the knob cranked to 11.
I wanted to go on like the ultimate adventure before I became a dad.
In 2013, with his friend, the late Sean Leary, they planned an epic adventure in Canada's remote Cirque of the Unclimbables. They had their eyes set on a para-alpine attempt in the Vampire Spires. This was no ordinary adventure. The men climbed the Vampire Spire, culminating in a base jump that would mark a turning point for Tim. The guys were obviously nervous before the jump.
3, 2, 1, go. Oh dear, I'm alright! Whoa, that was a bit spicy.
It was, after all, the shortest wingsuit jump either of them had ever attempted.
And I'm not very happy about going jumping again anymore because that was bad. And I've managed to get away with it.
At this point, Tim is weeks away from the birth of his son, and later he would announce that this was his last base jump ever.
Top of the Lotus Flower Tower! Yeah.
I knew that if I carried on doing it as a parent, that would be really selfish. So I quit base jumping.
Rocco Emmett is born on September the 4th, 2013. Tim's effort to develop the world's hardest ice routes at Helmkin Falls culminated in 2013, when Tim and Clem made the first ascent of the monster 230-metre multi-pitch Spray on top. Given the hardest pure ice grade in the world at the time, WI-10, it is still unrepeated to this day. This is Tim's piece de resistance and his signature contribution to the climbing world.
I think climbing Spray on top pushed the limits of the sport. It was totally insane.
Since retiring from the base jumping game, Tim has pivoted his focus from adrenaline-rich adventures to more physically challenging goals as a mountain athlete. Tim's plans to climb his first 9A has him projecting Eravea in Spain. He's been attempting to climb V12 in his hometown of Squamish, British Columbia, on frontside, and he continues to innovate in his adventures by combining disciplines and developing his vision around exploration. He combined ocean paddleboarding and sport climbing in his development of routes up to 514 on Anvil Island in the Howe Sound, near his home in Squamish. And he combined 4 disciplines on a trip to Iceland, which included free diving between the Eurasian and North American tectonic plates, traveling by paddleboard, ice climbing icebergs, and surfing. As if that wasn't enough, he just recently combined deep water soloing and ice climbing. I'm not sure there are any more combinations left.
I'm inspired by things that have never been done before, and I'm also inspired by things I've never done before as well, to push the limits of human performance and experience.
We see his influence in many of today's adventurers who are climbing things, slacklining and jumping off things, pushing their own limits and combining sports to create the ultimate feeling of accomplishment and pioneering their own styles along the way. Tim's mate, Matt Robertson, had this to say about his friend. Tim clearly demonstrates that high levels of psych and energy can bring concepts into reality. Boundaries are only set by the limit of imagination. Tim's house is filled with thank you notes and messages about his influence. Words like inspiration, legend, grateful, love. Tim Emmett thinks that every young adventurer should know 2 things.
If at first you don't succeed, change something and try again.
And
Don't wait for it to happen, make it happen.
Tim has succeeded in developing his son into a mini version of himself. It's pretty obvious that Tim's influence has worn off on Rocco.
Hey, did you have any dreams last night?
Yep.
What did you dream of?
Jumping off the cliff.
Really?
With a parachute.
Where'd you get that idea from, Rocco? I really want Rocco to try new things, reach his potential, and ultimately be happy.
Tim has only spent half his expected life achieving these milestones in sport. His adventure resume is impressive, both in abundance and diversity. He hasn't been slowing down, rather, he's been building on what he knows and doing it better each time. This is Tim Emmett waving goodbye. Goodbye, Timbo. Thanks for teaching me to rock climb.
Welcome to Tim Diaries.
So today, they say welcome to the Chong Pli Bungalows.
Oh man.
Okay, so we're here.
Hey, so welcome to Thailand.
Hey, welcome to Trevi's Boat.
Back in Vancouver. So, welcome to the Apron Car Park in Squamish. Sometimes it's hard to know when to say no.